Hello there, it's me Sari and I'm back with the third video of my fun card folding techniques series. In this video I'll be showing you some Z-fold cards or perhaps even S-fold cards. You could do them like this, or you could actually have them upright folded. So let's see, here is a regular S or Z-fold card, which is basically an easel card, but instead of having the flap going the other way, you're just going to turn it the other way. I hope I'm going to make sense in a second or two. And then you can just decide on what you want to put on the inside, and if you want to, you could of course match the topping part on top of it, so you actually don't see anything unless you reveal it by opening it up like this. And then if you are going to make it upright looking, it's going to look like this. And in this case you could actually make use of a smaller size on top of that bigger size. So this is my first S or Z fold card, which I made years and years ago with a beautiful stamp there from the greeting farm. These stamps I have masked together two stamps from Vilda Stamps, a Swedish stamp company, and I've got the inspiration from Tina Hagström. So when it comes to making a Z-fold card, this is basically it. So if you have it like this, it's going to be like a Z, right? From the get-go, it's just a folded card. And if I'm going to make an easel card, I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to build my card up from this. But when I'm making a Z card or an S folded card, I'm going to turn the heel the other way around, and then I could do some decorating. I could just have a piece of paper that matches like so. I must remember to only glue it on this bit here, on this side, because if I'm going to glue it all over, I'm not going to be able to open it, now will I? And it's fun to create some beautiful toppings with these, so that's where those sort of border dies come into play. This one is from Tim Holtz. It's a really beautiful distressed doily die that I have used. It's a thick die from z-vikt. It's a Big's die. And in this case you can see that I have used a really long paper, and that's something that I like because I like to make these cards sort of statement cards because they are so fantastic in my book. So here's one way to go about it. Here's something else with a sort of a set of dies from Spellbinders. The same thing goes for this. In this case I didn't have enough paper to make it go all the way down here, but I can fix that by putting on a paper exactly the same size as this and let it go down there. So nobody is going to be the wiser if this one isn't going to be all the way down there. Then there's another one. If you just want to have a sort of a clean and simple look, you could go for this. But let me just show you some more of these cards, and I really fell in love with this technique last year. So the good thing about these upright Z-fold cards is that they can actually stand on their own. You're not going to do that much of that interacting bit. You're just going to make it stand and pop of it on its own. And sometimes you luck out, or let's say I have lucked out with the measurements, so I can actually fold the card together, send it to somebody like this, and hopefully the recipient is going to understand that the card is going to be like this. Sometimes I have to do the fiddling with the flap, put it in between those layers of card, and I could go for that method. Let's see if I can show you that method a little bit better. I do believe that I have a video or two of these upright Z-fold cards because I do like this way to fold cards. Here is a vertical. It's a really tall card, stamps from Crealis, and I've used some punchinella and some sisal, it's called in Swedish. I'm not sure what it's called in English. It's something that you can decorate your flower decorations with. And here you can see that I've used a really long paper, and I've put an extra flap there, and I have secured it with a brad. And what I have to do is just put it in between those two layers. So what you have to do is make your Z, and then have two pieces of the same side, one for the front and one for the back. And when you are gluing them down, you're going to put your glue or tape just like a U not here, because then you won't be able to put this one in here. Because if you're going to put the glue here, well, you can't really use it unless you are going to put an extra piece of paper here so you can tuck this flap behind. But I think it's a prettier look, cleaner look, just by having the two pieces of paper in the same size. I hope I'm making myself clear here. I really do hope that. Let's see, here is something that I started out, I believe, making these upright Z-folded cards with. And in this case I did use an old paper die, I believe this one is called, if I can just show you the shape of this. And I die cut that one twice as well, and I made sure that I had it in the right direction, because this one isn't the same on all four sides, so I had to make sure that I actually got it there. Now I can see that I'm not really showing you what I'm doing, but this one is a little bit more tight, so I do have to fiddle a little bit to be able to put that in between those things. But I do really love these cards, because they can stand on your mantelpiece, on your table or a bookshelf, and they really strike me. And I do like to play with white on white also with these cards. In this case I'm not able to push this up, so I need to take it out before I send it to somebody. That was what I was talking about. Sometimes I luck out with the measurements, other times I don't. I haven't got a golden recipe for that. You just have to make and do and just see if you can succeed somehow. Here I have the same thing. In this case I actually don't have two papers of the same size. Here is what I was talking to you about earlier. You can put in a piece of paper behind there if you want to, in order to just make it stand. And depending on how much you are going to score this bit, you can actually make a card that's going to be deeper, or yeah, it's going to go deeper like that. So in this case, this is also one of my first trials. I mean, I did some patching up. I put papers on papers, and I didn't really do the math properly. So this is what you could be ending up with your first one. But let that be a prototype of sorts. Here's another one, and I spent quite a few hours on this. I used some pattern papers. I'm not sure what the company is called. Could be Studio something. And I have used a shrink plastic thingy there, and I die cut an owl, and I put some ink on it, and I die cut a branch, and I die cut this snowflake frame a couple of times, and I glued them together just in order to make it pop and make it a little bit thicker. And here I have the same principle. It's a Z card, and this one weighs a little, and there's even something on the back which I usually don't do, but it's a nice way to actually finish off a card, and I can put my name down here if I want to. So let's move ahead. I did go wild and crazy when it came to the Christmas theme, because that's when I was working with these. It's a beautiful snowflake border on top. I'm not sure, could it be Marieke something, Precious Marieke? Here is something that I didn't have a topping on. It's still a sort of a striking graphic looking card, and I do believe that I have two layers of card here, so it's easy for me to just put that one there. But I didn't succeed with the measurement, so I have to pull it out if I'm going to send it to somebody. And I do believe that one is from Spellbinders. These could be Cheery Lynn. It's the same size, but I die cut them a couple of times just to give that Christmassy feel to it. Here is something I spent also quite a few hours on making. It's a combination of a shaker card and an upright Z-fold card. Let's see, I'll be putting it in like that. Sometimes I luck out and making these really tight, other times I don't. In this case I actually do have the double layers of paper, so that makes this flap thicker. It isn't cut nicely, so that's why I'm really not going to bother about that right now. But I did like to make these shaker cards as well, and in this case I just used a little bit of a plastic pocket, let's say a scrapbook page pocket, and I sort of cut it to size, and I used a fuse tool in order to really secure that I sew the plastic together. And well, I could spend an hour talking about shaker cards, I'm sure, but let's move ahead. I do have quite a few more to show you. I did fall in love with the idea of using these beautiful trees on top. It's a die from Tim Holtz and z-vikt, and it's the same principle. So you can see you can really have yourself some fun making these upright Z-fold cards in any width or height or so you can have lots of fun. Here's another one which I made in white. Try to keep it simple, but still wanted to give this sort of depth, so I have layered and layered and layered, and I've even created a sky there, and I did have myself some fun making this decoration. Let's see if I can show it to you properly. If I could just put that one behind there, it could be fun, and these could poke out and sort of create that Christmas feel, and this one I could actually send it as it is. Here is something that I played around with quite a lot as well last year. You can recognize the distressed doily from Tim Holtz there, and in this case I have used an embossing folder from Marianne Design. I embossed it and I colored it with some ink on top, and then I stickles glittered it. It took me quite some time to make these cards, even though they are clean and simple in their look. Here is also something that I played around with using lots of white die cut pieces, and I stamped this in black and white, and I kept it sort of clean and simple. I forgot to tell you that the old paper die comes from Gummi-Apan. It's a Swedish stamp company, and the cross stitch dies here, it's from Rocks Stamps. It's a Swedish company. And then I believe that I have got out a circle with a double stitch die from Creolese, which will actually leave a stitch on the inside of the circle as well, and I think that is something that is going to finish off your card really nicely. Let's see what I have here. It seems like that the glue, this is one of those hazards, you see. The glue isn't doing its job. I mean, this one isn't even a year old, but still I have a lot of pearls in that box running around. But in this case, I won't be showing this one to you properly because I'll just be losing everything. But I used a Christmas ornament die there just to make that tab. You can see there's a beautiful ending for that. And it's actually the same thing as the shape of this beautiful ornament. And I believe, could this be Creative Expressions or something, Heartfelt Creations, one of those I believe. Here is something that I did some background stamping with a stamp from Gummi-Apan, and the Christmas tree die is also from Gummi-Apan. I have cut it out of colored cork, and the Merry Christmas saying in Swedish, God Jul, also is a die from Gummi-Apan. And it's the same principle here, and I like to play with the different shapes of these cards. Here's another shaker card, and I do believe it's better actually to just have a pocket where you can put your sequins and shaky bits in, so you're making sure that this won't happen again, because this is a really not a happy thing for the recipient to realize. And here is something I believe this one actually was the first. Oh no, this is just a simple easel card actually. I spent hours on this one, because sometimes when you don't have the idea from the get-go, you spend hours and hours guessing where I'm going to do this and where I'm going to do that. And in this case I actually did die cut this sort of a snowflake circle out of fun foam, but when I used my heat gun it sort of got warped, and I tried to rescue it with lots of stickles just to make it sparkle a little bit. But it's a really nice way to make an easel card, and what I did, I put some extra paper here just to give it some more strength and solidity, so it won't warp on my hand like that. So it's a really nice way to go about it. So let's continue a couple of more cards. I hope you can bear with me. Another easel card, and you can see that this one needs a little bit of more strength in the background. But here I did some stamping, and I've actually, this is just one layer here, and then there's this one, and I die cut the word saying God Jul out of glittery fun foam, and the stamps are from Gummi-Apan. And then I have made a sort of a mixed media card with the same technique, double layers of those from pieces of paper, so I can put this one in. I have done lots of work on this one. There's lots of fun things going on here. Let's see if I can show them to you. I've done some stamping, emboss stamping. I've colored the micro beads in with some brush-o powder. I've stamped and colored that butterfly in, which is a die cut, I believe. It could have been s-vikt or spellbinders, could be s-vikt, I'm not sure. And I mean, there's quite a lot of work gone into this one, and I have 2 or 3 more to show you. This is a sort of a black and grungy looking Christmas card, which also serves as a shaker card. So I did make these fusion cards, a couple of them last year, and they take time, so I'm not sure if I'm going to make that many this year, but still it's a fun way to go about it. And in this case I might actually end up having all of this glitter and everything out, but if you are going to go about it, why not lay up double layers of that circle frame at the same sides as this, and put on some really strong adhesive in between those layers, because if you're going to glue or tape 2 sort of rubbery bits together, plasticky bits, you really need a strong tape in between so you can prevent these shaky bits from escaping. And let's see, here is something. Oh yeah, actually this is an upright Z-fold card. I believe I had 2 layers of front piece of paper here, so I can put it there. And I have die cut this butterfly out of, I actually did put, there are 2 pieces of different kinds of paper here. I put some washi tape on a white piece of paper just so I could create myself a really crazy background. I did the same thing for this bit where I used some green washi tape. I die cut this piece from that one, and I also die cut the same one, used the same die to cut this shape so I could have a shadow in the background. And well, I basically had some fun using pattern paper in the background. And finally, the piece de resistance, perhaps, I'm not sure. It's a Halloween themed card, and in this case I used a beautiful notebook page die from Joy Crafts, and I die cut it twice out of green paper, so it would definitely be beautiful looking when I'm going to pull that, tuck that one in. I've used some different dies from several companies, and I even used a paper that I have dry embossed with one of those embossing folders. I'm not sure what the brand is called. And then I dragged on some black ink just to make that damask thing come through. And then I cut this beautiful spooky tree topper with one of the dies from Tim Holtz. So as you can see, I really did have myself some fun with these upright Z-fold cards, and all of those pearls are giving me a hard time now, so I'm just going to try my best to avoid having them, or actually slipping on them, having to turn off the video here. So let's see, if I'm going to show you just a simple way to go about it. Just take your piece of paper, decide on how big you want it, and in this case this one is 12 inches, so let's say you're going to make a card like this, 12 inches, score it at 6 and score it at 3, and then you're just going to make the Z shape. Then you can decide on what kind of a shape you want to be put on top here. Let's say you want a square, glue it at the bottom piece, put the glue here on the back side, and then you have it. But remember to cut this piece twice so you can actually glue it together in a U shape. Leave this one bit open. You could actually put a little bit glue here and there just so you have enough left for an opening to put that tab in. You're going to put a tab, you could put in a separate tab that you're going to fasten, let's say with a brad or something, or you could just do a little bit of a slit cutting there and try to put it in there. So in this case it's a really nice way to make an upright Z-fold card, or if you would like to, you could just make like this and you can open it like this, have a little bit of fun with the shape. And I would actually recommend you to make the same shape on the inside if you're going to go for that particular folding, way to fold this card. So I hope you are getting started with your card folding techniques, and I'll be back in a day or two, let's say a week at most, with another way to fold cards. Bye bye.